time playing Leon in the Resident Evil fan film we're making. I think the way I first got started into cosplay was, when was it? It was at SuperCon at either 2017 or 2018. My girlfriend and I at the time, we cosplayed as Dean Winchester and a humanized Impala from Supernatural, respectively. And something about it just got me hooked, something about just inhabiting the shoes of your favorite characters from your favorite shows or games even for just a few hours. And I don't know, it just kind of spitballed from there. My girlfriend at the time, Kylie's her name, basically dressed up with torn blue jeans, dark shirt, a field jacket, and then a flannel shirt tied around her waist. The thing I was drawn to the most, that's a bit of a tough one, because at that point I had no idea what being in a fandom really was. But if I had to pick a couple, I think Batman and Star Wars were two of the first biggest ones. It was around the time when I was 7 or 8. My friend Tyler, I visited constantly when we started becoming really good friends. And at least half the times I went there, the game he always had playing on his PlayStation was, funny enough, Resident Evil Survivor. But at the time, I was 8 years old at the most. I didn't know any better. I thought it was one of the scariest games that I ever picked up and played. But if it wasn't for that game, I never would have gotten into Resident Evil as much as I have now. When I really started getting into it, after I played Survivor, I wanted to look more into the series because there was something about it that just really piqued my interest. Something about, I guess, filling the shoes of of whatever character you were playing as and surviving through this horrific experience, fighting off zombies and monsters while at the same time figuring out what you needed to do to survive as far as conserving items and ammunition went. I think it was just all of that. The fact that really all of Resident Evil's gameplay is a puzzle. Something about that appealed to me as a kid. But I wanted to get more into this universe somehow, and I didn't have any way to do that as a kid, aside from going over to my friend's house. But then I found the novelizations of the games at my high school library, funny enough. And I was reading those by the time I was 9 or 10. A few years later, Tyler's buddy Zane introduced me to the port of Resident Evil 2 on the GameCube. Then after that came the PS2 port of RE4, and it just snowballed from there. Out of all the male characters in the franchise, Leon seemed like the most relatable, the most human. He's fun. It's gonna sound funny saying this, but to me he also seems like the most grounded in reality. He's the most, I guess, achievable level of human for me that the Resident Evil series has for male characters. Because he's not too smart, but he's obviously not stupid by any means. And he's obviously strong enough and smart enough to take care of himself, but it's not on a more Superman sort of level like, say, Chris is. I guess what appealed to me the most was the fact that he was able to keep his cool throughout all the situations he was in and still never lose his personality, his sense of humor. And he was always looking out for people who weren't able to fight for themselves. Like, obviously in Resident Evil 4, he had Ashley to look after. And then in Resident Evil 2, obviously, he had Claire to worry about, and then Ada was watching his back as much as he was hers. Well, more so the second part of their story than anything else, but it just seemed like he put others before himself because he knew he could take care of himself anyway. I was actually talking with Kay Cosplay, about possible photographers to work with for doing a cosplay shoot, and one of the names she brought up was you, Ryan. And I reached out to you, I think first, and said, hey, I have this idea for a cosplay shoot. Would it be all right if I came down to Rapid City to get this done? Because that would be the best thing, I think. And you were totally on board with that. Because as you told me, doing a Resident Evil shoot like that was kind of a dream of yours. It was also at that point that I had a cosplay of Leon's RE2 remake uniform, his RPD uniform, and I thought that would be the perfect time to break it out. The first day of the weekend I was there was when we did my RE4 and RE6 outfits, and then the Saturday after that was when I broke out my RE2 uniform, and that was also when Kay and Bridget and Steven and Cortland came up as Jill and Claire and the two zombies and really made that shoot something special. Where the movie went from there was, after the cosplay shoot, I think you actually told me that making a Resident Evil fan film was something you always dreamed of. And from there you told, I think all of us at different points, that you were working on a script for it, and said that we were basically filling the roles of Leon and Kay as Claire and Bridget as Jill, because the photo shoot was essentially the audition process, which we all passed. Easiest audition I ever had. And I'm just really this is a big thing for me, because not only is it a chance to bring one of my favorite characters to life the way I want to do it and in a way that stays true to his character from the games, but we're making a fan film out of this too. Making a movie out of this is just something I never imagined would happen. And the fact that I'm a part of this is just, it's still blowing my mind thinking about it. But that's a trick question, isn't it? Well, they can go to any of our Instagrams, mine being Vanderboom Ventures, yours being Brewed Images, though I think yours would be the first place to go because you're the one directing this and writing this, obviously. Brewed Images also on Facebook and Twitter, and there's also your freshly set up Patreon. And if people want to learn more about the franchise in general, there's obviously the Wikia page for it so they can get caught up, and if they have the chance, the Resident Evil Archive source books from Brady Games and the book Resident Evil of Zombies and Men by 3rd Editions, which covers Resident Evil's lore up to Resident Evil 6, I think. But mainly for information about the fan film, your social media pages and Patreon, and all of our social media pages too. Surprising no one, it's another viral outbreak, except this time it's back in the Midwestern United States in South Dakota, but there's something a little bit different about this one. It's not as widespread as they usually are. And of course, Leon and Claire and Jill, part of the old guard, is called back to take care of this outbreak and see what they can do to do just that. But obviously they find out that there's somebody behind the scenes of this outbreak pulling the strings, trying to test everybody, figure out where everybody's intentions and motivations lie behind it. And I think that's going to be especially difficult for Leon, because this is an offshoot of him from RE6 and Vendetta, where he's still trying to do his job as a government agent the best he can, but he's also getting very disillusioned with the way his higher-ups are handling everything he does, and the official way to talk about what he does and process all that too. It's starting to feel like he's doing this just because it's his job and his government overlords want him to, not because he's genuinely doing the right thing and protecting people, which is why he got into this job in the first place, I think. I hope that they see we're doing the best job we can of staying true to the Resident Evil canon while still putting our own spin on this. I hope they see we're doing the best job we can of bringing these characters and this story to life, and hopefully enough a sense of closure with some of the characters and some of their relationships between each other and the development of the characters themselves.